All right, guys, welcome in live. Welcome back to Chemo 365. And yeah, we didn't have a 9 o'clock podcast this morning because I tried to go, and every time I tried to go, either somebody was running a really loud leaf blower or there was some sweet streepers outside, and I was like, never mind. And by the time I got up and running, the news that we're going to go over kind of cracked open, and that kind of consumed the rest of my morning. But again, guys, welcome on in. Today we're going to be covering some potential reasons why you might not want to move out of Las Vegas, and it's just fair that we do that because in the last couple of videos I give you some really good reasons as to why you would want to move out here, and I've actually come up with some more reasons why you might want to move out here. So I'll probably do like a part 2 for that. Another thing too is I got to decide actually when I want to do these podcasts, because it seems like that 8-9 o'clock hour, there's always something going on, and it doesn't make sense to do two broadcasts if they're too close together. So I got to figure out what time I want to go ahead and switch those podcasts to. But for anybody new to the channel, thanks for tuning in. Consider subscribing, and if you want to click that bell to get notifications to when I post a new video, you can go ahead and do that. And for anybody that wants to leave comments in the section, if you have questions about anything to do with Las Vegas, how to get out here, where to live at. Again, I'll be going over those in future videos, but I'll leave my email address on the bottom, and you can leave some comments in the section below if you have any questions about that. But today, going back to the 5 reasons you might possibly, not want to move on here, because let's be honest, right? It's not paradise out here. We're living in the middle of a freaking desert. But before getting into that, let's cover some things real quick over here. Just getting into some of the excitement that's going on in the cryptocurrency realm. A little bit of a pump going on here. Did not see that coming. So we were right around maybe 19,000, 19.8. And you can see now that it's come up to almost 20, almost 27 or 20.7. And ETH is continuing to pump right before the merger. So keep an eye on that. And now we have broke past once again 1 trillion, and it doesn't look like it's going to stop. The only thing I think that's going to stop it from going higher is Chairman Powell being really hawkish. And we're keeping a close eye as to what's going on in Europe. And that kind of leads to the second thing I want to share is Queen Elizabeth Queen Elizabeth has died. And again, my condolences goes out to the, to England. Although she was not my queen, she was the only queen that I've ever known in my lifetime. And man, what a tough woman she was, through the war, just a rock for that country. And man, I wish she could have hung in there, because England really needs stability right now. But what a wonderful life and long life she did live. And man, did she rock those outfits. So I think she was 96 years old. What a for people our age, for many people, it's just 7 decades she was queen and 15 prime ministers, and she was always there for a lot of us, just kind of in that background. And losing somebody like that is always a big tragedy. So again, my condolences goes out to England, and of course for all of us here in the US, football is back, baby. NFL season, man. The Buffalo Bills made the Rams look like a practice squad. Josh Allen looked outstanding. I think the Rams got to go out there and ask Odell Beckham to come back, because man, they really shut Cooper Kupp down. He was just thinking and dunking, and that's all he got out there. But man, the Bills look good. Matthew Stafford doing Matthew Stafford things. He'll probably improve that along the way. But what an outstanding beginning to the NFL season. All right, let's get into these reasons as to maybe why you don't want to move out here to Las Vegas. And I really don't have a lot of negatives here. But to some people, these might be negatives as to not move out here. The first one I would say is probably the medical system. So in a lot of places, it's a requirement for workplaces to offer medical. But I think if you're a certain size out here, you don't have to offer medical. So you got to kind of choose bigger places to get your medical provided for you. And there are some really good places out here that actually have 100% healthcare for free. So if you find those places to offer free medical, that's great. They do exist. I think, back home, Hawaii Safeway, I think that might be attached to Vaughn's and maybe Albertsons. I think those guys get free medical out here. Man, if you can get slid in at like Sam's Club or Costco and bring your seniority from Hawaii over here to that, because I know, like, if you go to Hawaii or the the Costco here, you see tons of Hawaii people that have transferred from the places back home over to here. So if you can get, bring that seniority from Costco over to here, that's one of those great places to work at. But the medical situation, if you find some place you really like, but it's too small, it's not a requirement that they offer medical. And according to my mom, and this is an important thing for a lot of people that move out here, is she was telling me a lot of times when she goes to the major hospitals, the medical care is great, but it's not as personal as it is back home. There's a lot of times where she got stuck out in a hallway, or she was stuck in forced to share a room with other patients, which back home you don't really see that. You kind of get your own private room a lot of times. I guess because I don't know. I've never really thought about that because that's just how it is back home in Hawaii. It's a little bit more privacy, and it gets a little bit more of a soft touch as far as customer care goes. But when you come out here, if you do have to visit the hospital, you can kind of be prepared for it not being the same. Also, they don't have Kaiser out here, which I'm really bummed out about. Man, Kaiser is such a awesome place to get your medical stuff done because you just go to one building and everything is there. The optometrist, the blood work, whatever you need, it's there. Out here, I'm kind of forced to shuffle around and go to different places to get different things done. So the first thing is, although the medical care is awesome, it doesn't really have that personal feel that I felt like you can get back home. The next thing here is the school system, and this is not going to be a huge shocker to people back in Hawaii, but for other people coming in from different places, the school system out here is not ranked very high, and that's a consistent thing that has come out every single year that I've been here so far. And it's always on the news. Is that the education system is not very good. The public school education is not that great. Now, there are places that you can go to for private education, just like back home. You got Punahou, Kamehameha, and Iolani, and you do have those public schools that are on the top of the chain, for example, like Moanalo High School and things like that. But as a whole, the public school system is not that great. And just like everywhere else currently right now, there is a massive shortage for teachers out here. So if you're moving in from an outer state that has a great public school system, the school system out here is not the greatest. The third thing I would bring up is this might not be a place for people with crazy addictions like casinos and gambling. I'm not a huge gambler, but I have seen it be a problem. Like I've seen people when I'm at casinos, like they have their paycheck and they go straight to the cage and they cash that paycheck and that's it. So if you have an addictive personality, especially if you're a gambler, you got to watch what you do out here because that money goes very, very quickly. And on that topic as well, because weed is legal here, you can find it everywhere, man. The marijuana shops out here are ridiculously good. I hear they're having a little trouble though. The regulations that they have to follow really are cutting into their profits. And for us here, the marijuana industry actually is a good thing because it contributes a lot to tax wise to the education system. So the more they make, that's better for the schools, and they do generate a lot of income. But because of the restrictions and regulations that are put on them, they're not that profitable. But again, you can find those places everywhere. During the pandemic, they started putting in drive-throughs so that people didn't have to get out of their cars. So literally, you could go to like a weed shop and be like, let me get a number 2, let me get a number 3 or number 4, and you could just get it, right? And it's everywhere. You got 24-hour weed shops, and you don't have to worry about it. You can do it anywhere. Oh, quick warning about that too. Don't do weed in a casino. All right. So what happens with that is that casinos are regulated by federal law. So you can't do weed on a federal property, right? Federal, you can do it state, anywhere else, just don't do it on a casino because it's not a good thing because they're regulated by federal law. But that's the thing, right? If you have an addictive personality and you get addicted to drugs, that might be something to watch out for. But I think of it as a positive thing. But for people that do have that addictive type of personality, man, weed shops are everywhere and they are high class. And I think it's also been approved that you can have I don't know if it was approved or it's going to be approved or it's on the docket. They're trying to get marijuana lounges approved. So not only can you purchase the weed there, but you can just hang out with other people and have a good time just like you would at a bar. So keep an eye out for that. And there's some people that I know that don't approve of that at all. So those people probably won't have a good time out here in Las Vegas. So watch out for the casinos and the weed. If you think those things are addicting, that might take up a lot of your mental ability when you're out here and your income. The other thing that I noticed too is that the water out here, it looks bad, the water shortage, but that's not what I want to concentrate on. I want to concentrate on what comes out of the shower, because if you get a house out here, for whatever reason, I don't know if it's just where I'm at or if other people have water softeners installed into their homes, but the water out here is hard. Like back home, didn't really have problems with hard water. The water in Hawaii is awesome, but I notice when I get out of the shower, like maybe 5-10 minutes after, if I don't put lotion on, it feels like my skin is tightening and cracking. And man, I believe that's what hard water is. It just feels like my face is gonna break off. And then when you look at all the residue that's left on like the shower faucet and the knob, it's a lot thicker than it is back home. So um, that's the second thing to watch out for, is the water quality. And the home that I'm in now did have a water softener installed, but the water softener that was used at the time, it might have just been the technology at the time, but the water softener clogged all the pipes, and it water couldn't go through. So there was an expensive repair. Basically, they had to kind of dig down, find out where the clog was, and dig it out. So not so much of a deal breaker, but if you're used to the awesome Hawaii that's coming out of your faucet in Hawaii, I mean, to me, it doesn't taste any different. But when that feeling on your skin, be prepared to lotion up. And let's go to number one reason. Of course, everybody knows that it is hot out here. Summers are ridiculously hot. You got 4 months of guaranteed hot weather. And I will say this: if the temperature, if it gets up to 100 degrees, that's not a big deal. 101, 102, still not a big deal, because dry heat is very, um, I don't want to say it. It's doable, right? It's survivable, 100, 102, because there's no humidity, right? So you can move around. Yeah, it's a little bit hot and you sweat a little bit, but that's not where the damage happens. Damage happens when it gets up to like 105. Then you're kind of bummed out. And then the difference from 105 to 110 is massive. Like when it hits 110 degrees outside, you're struggling. Like even if you're trying to go 20 yards outside, not only is it hot, but it just zaps all the life out of you. It's just the heat radiating from the ground and the heat coming at you from the top, if you're not in the shade, is exhausting. So you don't get many of those days back to back. You'll get some days in the hundreds, 105, 102, then it'll get up to the 110, 112. It goes back and forth. So 4 months seems like a long time, but out of those 4 months, it's not that big of a deal. But what is a big deal to me is the humidity out here. Back home in Hawaii, it's a curse and a blessing at the same time. It's a blessing in the way where you don't have to worry about the moisture in your skin. Out here, it's so incredibly dry, even during the winter time. I find myself having to put moisturizer on my face at least 2-3 times a day. I mean, you got to just bring that lotion with you, because your face, my face starts to peel, starts to kind of flake off, and I do have to put moisturizer on a lot. And maybe your skin type is different, but you do have to worry about moisturizing a lot. Speaking of the weather in the wintertime, winter is awesome out here. Like the best times to come out here are probably in fall and winter, because it doesn't get that cold. You might get some days that come down to the 30s, but most of it's in the 40s, which I'll always say, just think about living in your refrigerator. So it's not the winters or the fall that you're worried about. It's the summer. And again, out of those times, if it stays around the 100 to 105 mark, it's doable. But once you get up there past 105, it's ridiculous. It's so, I can't even explain to you how crazy it is. But thank goodness you don't get too many days that are lined up past that. That's kind of one of the other things too. And right now, if you check out the weather report, here's another thing you got to think about too: is we have sandstorms out here. I don't know if that's exactly what we're having right now, but like if you go outside right now, it's hazy, it's dusty. That might be a result of some kind of dust coming in from someplace else, because it's not very windy outside. But I have been in a sandstorm, and it's the craziest thing to see it roll in and roll out. And if you really kind of think about it, if you're coming in from Hawaii, that's another thing you got to think about, is we do have really kind of crazy things. Like if you're out in the desert and you can see a storm coming in, it's a little bit scary watching a storm come in toward you and seeing the lightning strikes hit the ground, which you don't really get to see back home in Hawaii, because most of it's overseas and you can see it out there. And there's not a lot of land strikes in Hawaii, but when you're in Las Vegas and that storm comes rumbling in, man, those like monsoon season like it is right now, that can be a little intimidating for people that not exposure to that. But I kind of like being freaked out like that and being out there, part of nature. I like it. But the big worry everybody has is, oh, how do you get used to the heat? It's not so bad. It's just, I would say, 15 to 20 days of temperature within 110 to 115 degrees. That's bad. If you total up all the days that are like that, considering those 4 months that it's hot, it's not entirely too bad. So those are some reasons why you might possibly not want to move out here to Las Vegas. Again, I don't really consider them big deals because most of the time I'm inside. um Lotion, I don't like putting on lotion, but I do it anyway because man, it's humidity is really bad. Or I mean, you can always get a humidifier in your house too to keep your skin moisturized. But lips too, man. Chapstick. I didn't have to use too much chapstick when I was at home. But man, like I don't know if you guys can see it right now. If you guys watch some of my videos, my review videos, my lips are always chapped, and that's because I just never remember to put it on before getting on camera. But lotion, chapstick, humidifier, you got to get those things to survive out here. But those are just 5 things. Again, just to kind of go over them again. Sometimes the medical system out here doesn't have that kind of feeling of personal like aloha that you wouldn't get back home. It feels like just a bunch of people kind of crammed into one area, but it's still high quality medical out here. It just doesn't have that kind of personal care, personal touch that you do have back home. The school system out here is probably worse than it is back home in Hawaii. So if you're coming in from an outer state that has a good school system, it's not very good out here. The possibility to get addicted to things out here is probably a little bit higher if you have an addictive personality, like the casinos and all the weed shops out here, which again, not a big deal for most people, but if you have that type of personality or if you don't approve of weed being legal, then you might have an issue with out there. The water quality out here, like when I drink it, I don't have an issue with it. And we do have that potential issue at Lake Mead with it dropping. I've been out there. It's really scary. But I don't think it's going to be a problem. They'll figure out what to do out there. The big problem I have is it being hard water and just having the effect on the skin. And the big issue is weather. Now, if you can get past all 5 of those reasons, you're going to have a great time out here in Las Vegas. I think the financial benefits to being out here and being able to go where you want to go are awesome. Well, all right, guys, that's the ending of this video. And I think the next video I'm going to do, I've come up with some more reasons. Maybe I'll call it myths about Las Vegas, because there are some things that people seem to have ideas about that are not very true about moving out here or living out here. And I'll try to break them for you. Well, all right, guys, thanks for watching. And I still haven't decided what I'm going to do, when to broadcast again. I think I just might do one broadcast at 8 o'clock because the difference between the two isn't very good. And whenever I try to do it at 9 o'clock, there's always something that goes on. So I might just do one broadcast at 8 or maybe 12. I don't know. I haven't decided. If I'll post another video and let you guys know. All right, guys, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.